Hey guys, in this lesson we would talk about the basics of absolute functions and we would understand absolute functions in more deeper details as well. Absolute functions are the functions that are written as fx equal to x absolute. The sign, two lines around x will make this function an absolute function. As we know, if we have a function fx equal to x square, where this 2 on top will square an x value to give us a y value. For example, if we have x as -2, fx would become -2 square, which is equal to 4. Similarly, what these two lines do to x is, if we have x equal to -2, fx would be equal to x absolute, which is -2 absolute. So these two lines or these absolute lines will make the number positive. Therefore, our fx value is a positive 2. However, if x is already positive, let's say we have x equal to positive 2, and now we want to find out what is x absolute. We know this is going to be 2 absolute. It will keep the positive as positive. So this sign is going to make every value a positive value. If a positive value is there, it will keep it positive. If there is a negative value for x, then it will make it positive. That's what this absolute sign would do to a given x value. Let's say if we want to make a graph of this function and we have x values are -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2, then y or fx would be equal to -2 with this sign. That will make it a positive. -1 will become 1, 0 will be 0, 1 will stay 1, and 2 will stay 2. We would use these table of values to construct a graph. This is -1, -2, this is 1, this is 2, this is 1, this is 2. So when x is -2, y is 2, x is -1, y is 1, x is 0, y is 0, x is 1, y is 1, x is 2, y is still 2. And when we connect these dots, we get straight lines like these. And this is how a graph of absolute function would look like. If we have to make a graph of a transformed absolute function, let's say the equation is fx equal to -2, 3x -1. Then we write on the general transformed equation. So y is equal to a. Here goes kx minus d plus c. So from here we would get to know a is -2, k because it's supposed to be multiplied by x, so k is 3, d is not there, therefore d is 0, and c is equal to -1. So if we want to make this into a graph, we would use the parent function table of values to get the new table of values using mapping formula x by k plus d, ay plus c. X will pick from here -2 divided by k is going to come from here plus d. d is 0 here. We can solve this. Similarly, we can get the new y value by using this old value multiplying it by a. So -2 times 2 plus c is -1. This will be -4 minus 1 is -5. And so on. We will get all the points, and all we have to do is just use the new points to get the new graph. This is exactly same as you have done in your functions course. If you need to go over all these steps, then again I would recommend you watching the playlist Introduction to Functions in the YouTube channel of APS Education. Now what we require here is to understand how to solve an absolute function question. Let's say we're given a simple question, -8 absolute divided by -4. Any number that has absolute sign around it will become a positive. So we would be left with 8 divided by -4, which is equal to -2. Similarly, if you have to solve this, -22 with absolute sign will make it a positive 22. -11 with absolute sign will give us a positive 11. Plus this is -16 divided by -4 with absolute sign is a positive 4. When we solve this, we would be able to get 2 plus minus is a minus. 4 times 4 is 16, and we are left with a -2 as the final answer. This is how we solve absolute function questions. Another type of question that comes under absolute functions is to express using absolute value notation. If we are given x is less than -3 or x is greater than 3, how do we write this in absolute value notation form? Now what we are given is the x interval values. So we would first first change this into a number line form. We know a horizontal line is x-axis. So whenever we are making a number line, we use a horizontal or x value line. There is a 0 here. Let's say here is -3 and here is +3. The x value is less than -3. So that means from -3 to everything up till the negative infinity, and x greater than 3 means from +3 to everything till positive infinity, where -3 and 3 are not part of the answers. So we would represent it as a hollow circle. This hollow circle means there is a hole at -3 and 3, which means all the values from -3 to negative infinity will be taken up by x except -3. So that means the values will start at -3.00001 excluding -3 itself. Similarly, on the right side, all the values from +3 to positive infinity will be taken up by x except +3 itself. Now the question wants us to express using absolute value notation. So we have to rewrite this question in terms of absolute value. We know absolute value notation is a representation of fx, or we can say it's a representation of y. So we are supposed to find out what is the value of y when x is less than -3 and x is greater than 3. We also know from the definition of absolute value function that absolute value functions, or the y values for absolute value function, would always be positive. And the positive values on a number line are always the number on the right side from 0. So what values y will take up for these yellow lines? Because these yellow lines mark the x intervals of the question. As we are looking for absolute function, an absolute function or the yellow function that we will be writing represents only positive values. So we would disregard the negative values for writing absolute function. We would only regard the positive values for writing absolute function. Therefore, x absolute will be greater than 3. Let's say we have to write down this in the form of absolute function notation as well. We would make a number line again. Here goes 0. Here goes -1, here goes +1. Let's represent these numbers on the number line. Now x is less than equal to -1, so that means -1 is included, and everything from -1 to negative infinity will be part of the x values. So we put a solid circle here. Similarly, on the positive side, everything including +1 to positive infinity will be part of x values. We are supposed to find out x absolute. That means we are supposed to find out the y values when x values are from -1 to negative infinity and +1 to positive infinity. And we also know that the y values cannot be negative, so we would disregard the negative side of the number line. Only the positive side of the number line is going to give us the x absolute function answer, and that is greater than equal to 1. Let's say we have to write down the absolute value notation for this particular given interval question. Now we would put again x on the number line. This is -5, this is +5. This in between line always represents a 0. The x value lies from -5 to +5, including whenever there is an equal to sign as well. So this means x is greater than and equal to -5. We put a solid circle at both -5 and +5. Now the x value lies in between -5 and +5. So this is our required line on this number line. We are looking for x absolute function. We know the negative part of the number line is going to be disregarded for writing x absolute. Only the positive part, and the positive part is from 0 to 5. Therefore, we would write down x absolute is less than equal to 5. It automatically means that it would stop at 0. If we start at 5, so it will go from 5 to 0, or it will go from 0 to 5, because absolute sign function cannot be negative. Therefore, this is how we represent absolute function notation for this type of a question. Another type of a question that can be asked for absolute functions is graphing on a number line. If you're asked to graph x absolute less than 8 on a number line, always remember on a number line we can only graph the x values, because number line represents horizontal x-axis. So we first write this question in the form of intervals. That means we are given the question in this form and we are writing it in this form. So they are saying x absolute is less than 8. If we would be making this on a number line, definitely 8 and negative 8 will be part of the values that we would show on the number line. X absolute is less than 8. There is no equal to sign, means there is a hollow circle and it's less than 8. So the positive part of the x intervals should be from 0 to 8, excluding 8. This means x is less than 8. And when it comes to x values, it will consider both the negative and the positive counterpart. So x would also lie from negative 8 to 0. That means x would be greater than negative 8 as well. So finally we can write down our answer as x lies in between negative 8 and positive 8 without an equal to sign. This is how we change an absolute function notation to interval form, and this is how we sketch the graph, and this is how we sketch the number line. Always remember, on the number line we have to represent both the negative and the positive counterparts of x value. Let's say we are asked to make x absolute greater than equal to 7 on a number line and write it in the form of intervals. Then we would mark negative 7 and positive 7 on the number line, because x absolute considers only the positive part of the number line. That's what is being shown here. X absolute is greater than equal to, with a solid circle on positive 7 in positive direction. On a number line we have to show both the positive and the negative counterparts. So the negative would be from negative 7 to negative infinity. If you want to write it down in interval form, it would be x is greater than equal to positive 7 and x is less than equal to negative 7. And that's how we draw a number line and write down the answer in interval form. Because in both cases, x absolute will be greater than equal to 7. As when x is, let's say, equal to negative 9, x absolute will become a 9. And they want all the x values for which the absolute function is greater than equal to 7. So since this is a value that is greater than 7 and we have got this when x is equal to negative 9, that means we would consider both the negative parts as well as the positive parts on the number line for x values. If we have to rewrite this number line using absolute value notation, we know absolute function only takes the positive part. So from 0 to positive 3, including positive 3, because this is a solid circle, we would write down x absolute is less than equal to 3. And this is how we change a given number line to absolute function form.